Hey, it's Ron McLean. Welcome to Hockey Talk on the Rock.
With Lara and Keith.
It's interesting.
So let's back up a second.
He played absolutely out of his mind.
It made no sense to me.
And now, here are your hosts.
All right, we are back doing Hockey Talk on the Rock, episode number 96. And December 28th, coming to the end of 2022, almost at the halfway point of the year. We're going to talk Canucks. We've got 5 games since we last spoke to each other about this stuff on the interweb. And we'll look at some of our maybe hot takes from coming into the year and just anything else pops up. So, yeah, Canucks 2-3 in the last 5.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like this was going to be a much darker episode, and then the Pettersson game, as I'm calling it, happened, and things kind of changed around. But there's the 2 5-1 losses at home that were depressing, to say the least. So first one was to Winnipeg,
then St. Louis, right?
then St. Louis, that's who it was. And yeah, just really not great efforts. Pettersson didn't play in either of them, and it was noticeable that he wasn't there. And it is frustrating because you are paying a bunch of players a lot of money, you know, to be the guys, you know, and when you take him out of the lineup, it was just like there was such a big hole, and it was just depressing, basically. And then, you know, you have the game against Seattle, and Boudreau's like, oh, he might not play. He's still not feeling great. He hasn't skated in 6 days. And he comes back, he puts up 5 points, and he scores the shootout winner to beat Seattle. So that was, like, the game that, for me, it was like, I think I texted you during it, like, I need to rant. And then Pettersson basically single-handedly changed it. And I was like, okay, this team is fun. I like watching this team.
Well, that game wasn't like incredibly frustrating until he took over, because like Seattle would get a couple goals, then Vancouver would get one, and then like right away Seattle would get it right back.
Yeah. So, and I mean, like, you can say like, oh, it's Martin Jones and it's Seattle, but it was still like, it was fun. And then we had them beat Edmonton the following night, which was probably more impressive, like, in terms of a team, because I mean, Edmonton should be the better team over Seattle. They're not right now, but they should be. And we were Colin Delia played, got his first start, his second win for the Canucks this season, and he looked all right. Like, again, like, none of the goalies for the Canucks have played great this year, but I was afraid when I heard that Delia was playing the back-to-backs, you know, against McDavid, and you start thinking like this could be really bad. But he held his own. He played pretty well. And the Canucks were able to kind of rally together and get the win. Horvat had 4 points that night, and it was a more, I'd say, dominant game for the whole team. Whereas, like, the game against Seattle really was Pettersson. So that was nice, and it was fun to leave into Christmas on a happy note. And I always like beating Edmonton, so that was also happy.
Yep.
And then we come back against San Jose, and the Canucks win 5-1 on home ice, which is a nice story as opposed to losing 5-1 on home ice, which seems to be what they normally do. And I mean, all this to say is I feel like it's the same story. The Canucks can beat these teams that aren't great, and then when they play teams that are good, they kind of don't show up. Mind you, like, technically right now, Seattle and Edmonton are in playoff spots, or Edmonton might not be, but they're very close. So those are like slightly higher caliber than the teams the Canucks are normally beating. But this next stretch of games that they got going on, they're playing a lot on the road. They're playing a lot against playoff teams. They've got some back-to-backs. So this will be, I think, the stretch that really tells us if the Canucks are legitimately back in the playoff hunt, or if this is all just still a mirage. And obviously it raises the question again of what they're going to do with Bo Horvat, because, like, I'm starting to think now they're going to end up re-signing him, which I'm personally against. And it's not because I don't like him. Anyway, we'll see. But I'm starting to think that if he keeps putting up this many points, his back-to-back 4-point nights, with the ownership that they have, are they going to really walk away from him?
Yeah, and I mean, at what cost, you know?
Yeah.
At what cost?
Yeah.
Hindsight's always 2020, but I'm betting they're kicking themselves with a Miller resigning and not trading him because,
Yeah.
well, whatever. Anyways,
Yeah.
it would be one hell of a deadline package if they decide to move on from him.
And I think it does matter where they are, which is why this next little bit here until the trade deadline really is going to play such a big role in the future of the team.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but it's going to be definitely interesting. I know they brought up on the broadcast of the intermission yesterday what they're going to do with Kuzmenko, because that's the other one that people are starting to ask questions about. I'm kind of the belief with Kuzmenko. I doubt that he signed here in the summer if they hadn't at least talked about what like the parameters of the next deal would be. So kind of being like, if you score 50 points, we'll give you this. If you score 70, we'll give you this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think that Kuzmenko they're gonna resign. I'd be really shocked if they move on from him. But again, maybe if they totally fall out of it, they start looking at everything. But right now they're in it again, and we'll see how long they stay in it.
Time will tell. It would be also very Canuck to have them go through the season and make the playoffs and lose in the first round, and Horvat walks away for
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
Everyone's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
We'll see. I think they play again tomorrow night. Is that right?
They do. They play Winnipeg again. So that'll be a big game. And then Calgary on Saturday, which will also be a big game. But yeah.
They're all big games.
They're all big games now for the Canucks. Seems like they always are.
It's kind of nice to see. I mean, minus the back-to-back 5-1 losses, that like the offense is picking it up enough to do what they have to do. Because like whether it's Spencer Martin or Thatcher Demko, like they're letting in a lot of goals this year. Whereas like last year, that was kind of the bread and butter thing. Was like, well, not both goalies, but Demko for sure
Yep.
is he was stealing games and keeping them in every game. Whereas like Martin looks okay, but he'll let in like 4 or 5 goals a game or something.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a funny he does seem to make big saves, and then he'll let in like that goal from center, or not center, but almost center, where I was like, I think I'm over the Canucks.
Yeah,
But that kind of goal, and then he makes like this brilliant stop, and you're like, where are you at? But
totally.
he's a backup goalie, and I think we all know that, and he's probably playing way too much for what he should play right now, and it's starting to show. There is a book on him now. The people are going like top glove side on him quite often, and that happens right with every goalie once they've played enough.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I think that's all I have for the Knuckleheads.
Yeah, I mean, there's it's now past Christmas and the trade freeze of the rosters is over, and as always, we're almost 2 months away from the trade deadline, so they're starting to talk about UFAs and where they're going to go, and 2 massive contract UFAs that are both having underwhelming seasons but are on a terrible team are Taves and Kane.
Yeah.
And the talk around them, like Kane, there's always like the list of teams. Like, where's he going to go? It could be here. It could be here. I think the Rangers is talked about the most.
Yeah, the Rangers in Toronto I see all the time.
Which is weird. What I read say he's on pace for like 12 goals this year. Like
Yeah.
he's like one of the worst years of his career.
Of his career, yeah.
And then like it seems like for a year they've been talking about Taves to Winnipeg.
Yeah.
And the only way I can see that happening is if they broker in a third team to take a bunch of the money to make it.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens with those two, because that's going to be like the end of a dynasty.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I keep hearing with Taves like Colorado if they don't go after Bo.
Right.
Which I could also see because they would have the money right now anyway because of their injuries to do it. But yeah. Chicago will be fascinating to watch because they're obviously in it for Bedard.
Yeah.
Right now. I can't remember how many games they won in December, but they're given some competition to the other bottom feeders down there, to Anaheim basically.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And Bedard, who had
7
three
points.
goals. Yeah, 3 goals and 4 assists today. I mean, it was Germany, but still, really crazy.
This Canucks fan is crying.
Yeah,
It's never gonna happen.
I would like. It wouldn't kill me if you ended up in Anaheim. I'd feel better about it than Arizona or Chicago.
Me too.
But whatever.
It's gotta be Vancouver.
Yeah. So
Written in the stars.
yeah. All I've got is looking at some hot takes.
Okay.
Since we're halfway through the season.
Okay.
And I admittedly went more conservative this year than I have in past years.
Okay.
So I feel kind of good about it right now, is what I'm trying to say.
I gotcha.
My 10 hot takes leading into the season. Number 1, Jake Virtanen gets a PTO around training camp. And he did. He didn't make the Oilers, but he had a PTO.
Yeah.
Matthew Tkachuk finishes with more points than Jonathan Huberdeau, which is right so far.
Yeah.
But Calgary finishes with more points than Florida. And I don't know off the top of my head if that's right, but that's got to be darn close.
I think it's right now.
It is right?
Let's check.
While you're doing that, the next one was Matt Murray has a better year statistically than Jack Campbell. I think it's safe to say that one's looking good.
Yep.
Calgary and Montreal come together on a trade. Sees Sean Monahan going to Montreal. Got that part right.
Yep.
But I had Calgary getting Mike Hoffman back in the deal, which he did not.
Yep.
Philadelphia will be right in the mix with Chicago and Arizona for the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. I think it's safe to say they're bottom 5.
Yeah.
Ottawa starts strong, pays a high price to acquire Chicherin, and then still misses the playoffs. I don't know if they started strong.
No.
So that one's kind of out to lunch.
Yeah.
Another one I might need you to look up is Claude Giroux will have more points this season with Ottawa than Philly's highest scoring player.
We'll see. Let's check it out.
Did you see where Calgary is in relation to Florida?
You were correct. Right now, Calgary has like 3 more points than Florida.
Nice.
So you're in the right trend.
So far that's pretty good. I'd give myself 5 out of 6 there, or 6 out of 7, or whatever I'm at. I've got Ovechkin reclaims the Rocket Richard Trophy.
Yeah.
So
pretty close right now.
Yeah, he's in the 20s with goals, but I think McDavid has 30.
Right. Yep.
So not far off. The Rangers fail to make the playoffs, and they've had a tumultuous season. It's still a possibility.
Yeah.
And
it's slightly off on the Giroux one right now, but it's pretty close. 32 is what Konechny has. He is and Giroux has 29.
Oh, so close.
Yeah.
And then my last one is probably the most incorrect one, with Thatcher Demko will be a vet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's probably the opposite.
Yeah. It would take a miracle for that to happen. So, it's looking okay. I'd give myself 7 out of 10 maybe at this point, but there's still a long ways to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have your hot takes, or is that?
I don't have them on me right now, so I'll have to do it next week, but
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all I got. I mean, unless there's any other speculation that you can think of that was worth mentioning.
I don't think so right now.
That's all we got. All right. Well, tomorrow night is another Canucks game, and next week will probably be another episode, and you might be in Italy by then. So
hopefully,
one of us might be really tired, or you never know how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
So, all right. Well, this has been episode 96, Hockey Talk on the Rock.